Hey, want to take a walk on the wild side and experience the bleeding edge of technology? Then get ready, because it doesn't get much more edgy than this. You're in for a wild. Tired of boring specials about history, science, and technology? Then get on your best headphones, because you might want to lay down for this. A Sovryn Tech special with the world's foremost anarchist technophile, Brian Sovryn. He has a huge, well, you know. And now, here's Brian.
The Golden Stallion of the tech world here, ready for another great special. The special spilling of the seed of liberty for everybody out there. And this episode is actually the first part of a triple load of Sovryn Tech, because, you know, when I go away, baby, you know, I love to give you just as much Sovryn Tech as I can. So, and I'm going to be gone for about a week. So to make everything easy, I'm going to put out, we've got this special coming out today on Saturday. It's December 8th, 2013. And we've got a regular episode coming out, a real blockbuster episode coming out today as well. And then tomorrow on Sunday, December 9th, I'll give a nice big release of next week's episode. So you're going to have three episodes of Sovryn Tech, and I'm actually all recording it on the same day. So I'm doing some marathon podcasting here. And let me tell you, if my voice gets a little hoarse, that's why. And because an episode, well, you're going to hear the next episodes, but boy, did I get heated. Anyway, this is a special I'm really excited about. Okay. And there's going to be a lot of links in the show notes, so make sure you go to sovryntech.com and check out the links, check out the show notes. Of course, everything I'm linking to, you can actually just search for in the Play Store, because what this episode is about, it's about how to take your Android device more towards your tablet, and I'll explain why. But it's about taking your Android device and making it what I call going dark. Okay, going dark is in it's anonymized. You are not you on your Android device, and everything you're doing is essentially as off the grid as possible. Okay, and so now this can be done with a phone. Some of this can be integrated with a phone. Some of it maybe not. But by and large, I'm talking more for tablets. Now, why do you want a tablet that can go dark? First off, let's discuss this. Okay, we're in a world where, let's not talk about the NSA just yet. Okay, but we're in a world where if you're leaving the United States, other countries, it's nowhere near as bad. And we've had guests on the show, tech experts on this show, that have said that when they travel in other countries, there's not a whole lot of problem. They go through no problem with their devices, nobody cares. But in America, for whatever reason, Americans are getting roughed up by border patrols, the TSA, etc. And so these border patrols will, say you're going to, some really far off land like Canada or Mexico, because, those countries are far away, and boy, once you cross that line, it's a different world. Suddenly the grass is purple. Come on. Anyway, when you go to other countries, a lot of times these people will, when you're leaving the U.S. or you're entering the U.S., they will search your device, and they have no problem saying, give me your password. I'm going to look at your pictures. I'm going to look at, and boy, wouldn't they love to look at the pictures on my devices. They're going to look at this, and, this is where I think having kind of a throwaway device, or a device that you didn't spend a whole lot of money on, is a good idea. I wouldn't want you taking, some really hot gaming laptops, some really awesome MSI gaming laptop, that cost you $2,000 or whatever, to Mexico. Okay. Not a good idea, right? And so you want something that maybe only hash out a couple $100 for or so, maybe 300. And so that puts in your class, in my opinion, the best things to bring. And I'm saying don't even bring your phone, by the way. Because phones generally cost, if you buy them out of contract, they cost a good $600, maybe more, or maybe a little less. But also your phone, how risky, unless you have Google Voice set up or something, how risky is it to lose your phone? In my business, I'm an ad exec for Free Talk Live. If I don't have my phone, I'm screwed. So I would, if I'm going away to other countries, I'm telling people don't reach me by phone, and I leave my phone at home. I'll lock it up, whatever. There's no chance I'm bringing my phone to other countries, because the chance of it getting taken, in my opinion, just too risky. As to where losing, a tablet or a Chromebook, yeah, I'm more open to that because, just straight up, they're only worth a couple $100. So again, we're not talking NSA here. We're just talking straight up, like maybe TSA or border patrols. I recommend bringing relatively throwaway electronics. I've talked about it on the show. The Acer C720 Chromebook is a great device to bring with you. Okay, the battery life is like a good 9 hours. The keyboard's great. Everything about it's, solid. And if you lose it, you lost out on $199. Not a big loss in comparison to losing a phone. Or a beautiful gaming laptop. So hash out the money for that. Or you can grab like a Tegra, the NVIDIA Tegra Note 7, which is a really nice tablet computer out there. This isn't the NVIDIA Shield. This is actually another thing NVIDIA's made through EVGA. Really nice tablet, the Tegra Note 7. A lot of power, but only $200, because apparently the body feels kind of cheap. I'll deal with the cheap feeling body and, have the performance with me and the low cost. That's fine. Because I can always throw it in an OtterBox or something as far as chintzy goes. So there's something you can get for $200. You can get a Nexus 7 for around that price. A lot of great options, where you don't have to hash out a lot of money to have an electronic device that you could carry with you if you're crossing borders. Now, the nice thing about having an Android device or a Chromebook, and the reason I recommend bringing those and not just some Windows laptop across the border, is because you can easily erase, okay, and we're going to get into all the software that's going to make your Android go dark in a minute, okay? But I want to get this point out there. You can easily erase everything on your Android or on your Chromebook, and then when you get across the border or you get to where you're going, whatever, you can you just type in your username and password, and everything will come back. Okay, so if you're dealing with just some asshat TSA, I mean, obviously, if the Supreme Court wants, it tells Google, no, give us the information on this guy, well, you're fucked anyway. It doesn't matter where you are, or what you're using. Okay, generally, but for ease of use and you're crossing borders, don't bring the phone. Bring a tablet or a Chromebook, in my opinion, and that way you can easily erase everything on there, and then you can just log back in, and everything will get re-inputted, re-downloaded onto your device. Right down, especially with the Android devices, it'll go right down to, right down to your, background, to the background wallpaper on your tablet. It's amazing. And also, tablets and Chromebooks allow for multiple users, so you could also make fake users and things of that nature. So all stuff to consider, in my opinion, when you're doing that. Now, okay, so that covers, okay, what do you do, when you're dealing with border guards and TSA and all that stuff. Now, let's talk about the NSA. Let's talk about even, corporations or whoever. You want your device to be private. Maybe you want to do some hacking with it, whatever. You don't want people looking at your stuff. Okay. Now, the first thing I got to bring up, now the best device for this is generally, is a tablet, okay? Because we're just talking about Android here. We're not talking iOS. There aren't enough options, even for a jailbroken iOS device, to really do a lot of what I'm talking about, okay? So this is just for Android, and this is all about, securing your Android and possibly, making it what they call go dark, okay? And the first thing I want to talk about with doing that, the first two things I want to talk about is that most Android devices, most mobile devices in general, run off of ARM architecture. Okay, what ARM is the processor, okay, and what controls like the, what controls the antenna and all that stuff. The first thing you have to consider, okay, before we go any further, is that ARM is actually a really ARM is in comparison to like Intel and AMD processors, got me? Okay. ARM is very, very old. And the software that runs ARM processors is very, very old, and it's not secure at all. The firmware for ARM is not secure. Okay, so as secure as we can make Android, Android runs on top of that ARM firmware, and that ARM firmware is not secure. Okay, and that ARM firmware is also designed. Okay, the problem with this ARM firmware is that it's designed that any signal it receives to accept it. Okay, so if someone like the police are doing this with iPhones, where they can send out a signal and it turns off all the iPhones in the area, or kills the data to all the iPhones, whatever. Or like in the Boston Massacre, where they shut down cell phone signals. They can essentially, the potential exists, which has nothing to do with Android or iOS, in this case. The potential exists to where your device could just be, incommunicable, just with the sending of a signal because of this ARM firmware, okay? So keep that in mind, all right? Keep that in mind. Now, let's go beyond that, okay? Because now, I mean, you can get scared about all that stuff, but I generally, there's not a whole lot that can be done about that. But in general, now, if you're talking about that's designed a lot for like antennas, like 3G antennas, more so than Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi becomes a different story, and this is where I recommend with the tablets, because with the tablets, okay, now you can get tablets that have like LTE or 3G capability. I don't recommend that. The plans are incredibly expensive to even use it, because you can never get unlimited data, and to me that defeats the point. But B, you can usually just root your phone and have your phone with unlimited data, just like transmit a Wi-Fi signal at all times, which that's a lot easier to do, and it saves you money on the tablet. Okay, or it's for free when you go to McDonald's, you get free Wi-Fi or whatever. So I recommend just going with the Wi-Fi only. That way you're not dealing with that ARM problem that we just discussed, or any other things, of that nature. I think tablets with 3G or 4G capabilities they're not a waste, but I think it's a waste of money myself. So let's talk about the first thing. First thing we want to do to make our Android device go dark is to get rid of Android. Yes, we want to get rid of Android. And what we want to put on there is something called CyanogenMod. Okay. And I've done it for, I did it for Software of the Week at one point on Sovryn Tech. And CyanogenMod is an open source, it's a more open source, I should say, version of Android. It'll run all your Android apps. It does everything that Android does. It just does a whole hell of a lot more. And it gives you a lot more control. CyanogenMod will allow you to, there's things, there's alerts that your phone can give you, like severe weather alerts that come from like the carrier or from the internet or Google or whatever. You can actually turn off in Android, you can turn off most of those alerts, but you can't turn off the presidential alerts in the United States. So essentially, if the president comes out and says, I don't know, something crazy like martial law, then you couldn't turn off that announcement or whatever. Maybe you want to know that sort of thing, or maybe you're concerned that kind of announcement, who knows what that is. So anyway, but with CyanogenMod, you can turn that stuff off. You can turn everything off, literally everything. You could kill your Wi-Fi signal, you name it. And in fact, admittedly, if you were still going to buy the LTE versions of a tablet, you can turn off those signals as well. So CyanogenMod gives you absolute total control of your device. It even it gives you the ability to change the processor speed, the whole business. I mean, CyanogenMod is amazing what you can do with it. Now, CyanogenMod recently became like its own company. Before it was just kind of like a hacker project. Now it's its own company because it's actually so good at what it does that people got interested. And there is now an installer. You have to have a Windows notebook, or you have to have a Windows machine, and there's an app that you can download. You can't download it from the Google Play Store anymore. Google made them take it down, even though it didn't break any of the terms and service of the Play Store, which is bullshit. But you can download the CyanogenMod installer, and what it'll do, it'll do the whole process of installing CyanogenMod onto your phone for you. It's really, really simple, but there's only certain phones that works for, and most of those are Nexus devices or Galaxy devices from Samsung. Maybe like the HTC One series is getting a lot of adoption too, so maybe with those. But that's about it. So keep that in mind. And a really great thing when you're talking about like what tablet to get, I do recommend either like the NVIDIA or the Nexus devices, because those are made where the company Google or NVIDIA or whoever has in mind the fact that you are going to tinker with these things. Okay, Samsung's getting bad about it because in their Exynos processor, they're actually making it more difficult to unlock your phone or to root it. So you might want to keep that in mind, that anything with an Exynos processor, which would include the Galaxy Note 3 or some of the Galaxy Note 10s and maybe even the Galaxy Tab. The Galaxy Tab, I don't think has an Exynos. So I'm actually tempted to grab a Galaxy Tab 3 myself, because that looks like, even though it's only dual core and it doesn't have like the great Snapdragon processor, looks like it has all the old tech, and yet it's new to where it still has some pretty good support. Anyway, so grab a Nexus device if you can to do this, because it'll make the process a lot easier. And the Nexus devices are well supported, not just by Google, but they're well supported by the hacking community in general. In fact, most like the Galaxy Nexus is considered, like if you're doing a straight build of Android, like if you're doing your own build, like installing Android on your own, blah, 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 no installer, none of this TeamWin stuff or whatever. That the Galaxy Nexus is like the best phone to ever do that for. So, keep it within those ranges. Okay. Nexus devices are the best way to go. So get CyanogenMod installed. You're going to get rid of stock Android. Okay. And you're going to put CyanogenMod on. That's going to give you a lot of the control options that you want. All kinds of fun things you can read about CyanogenMod. I don't want to spend the whole show talking about that. So put that on there. And once you do that, when you install CyanogenMod, actually you don't already have the Play Store on there. Like when you install Android, it automatically puts the Play Store on along with all the Google apps. And part of going dark is you're not going to use Google apps. Okay, part of this whole dark Android thing is that you're not going to use Google apps at all, because, Google might be, quote unquote, the bad guy. Okay, even though you're buying their hardware is actually made by LG or Asus or whoever. So, don't worry about it. But the software, for some could be the issue. This isn't for like the ultra paranoid, because the ultra paranoid wouldn't use anything. But this is for the pretty paranoid, okay? And I've tested all of this, and it works pretty well. So we get CyanogenMod there. Okay, we've eliminated Google's services and Google's incursion on our device. Okay, where I'm not saying Google's evil. I use a Chromebook. But I use a lot of Google services. But I'm just saying. Okay, I did a while without them, all to test for this very episode to see how this works, to make sure that there were genuine alternatives to everything that Google offers or that Apple offers that you can do, that don't come from the big companies that are working with the NSA or whatever, if that's your line of thinking. Not saying it's mine, but if it's yours, it's what it is. Okay. So we get CyanogenMod on there. We have no Google services on there. Do not download the Play Store. Okay. Unless you really want to, and you can turn off a lot of these services, and with CyanogenMod, you can have a little more control. Okay, so some of these things you can use. But anyway, the Play Store is going to be an option. That's up to you. So now what you want to do is that so if we don't have the Play Store, where are we going to get our apps from? Do I have to go download every single APK, for all of these apps that I'm about to list off? No, I would, if this wasn't a relatively simple process, I wouldn't recommend doing it, because it'd be in the realm of hackers instead of the realm of everybody to do. And what I want you to do, you are going to have to download one APK, okay, and, get it put onto your CyanogenMod device. Now, CyanogenMod has a web browser on it, built in. It's the old Android, open source web browser. That's does an okay job. And you can do that, and you can go to F-Droid.org. You can go to F-Droid, okay? And I've done F-Droid for Software of the Week before. And what this is a Play Store, essentially. This is just like the Play Store, except it doesn't have music and books and magazines and movies, of course, but it's for apps and games, okay? You can go to the Play Store, and you can download, and or I mean, you can go on F-Droid, okay, which will work like the Play Store, and that will allow you to install totally open source apps. That's all that's allowed on F-Droid are open source apps and stuff that, that's generally to some degree vetted. Not all of it's vetted. Okay. Open source. It's important not to fall into the open source fallacy. Well, it's open source, so it's safe. No, that's not true. Like OpenSSL is not safe. So, keep that in mind. But this is a place where there's a community, and if something's not good, people say, get that off of there. Or you can at least, go online and do some research and find out whether or not the software you're about to download is any good. So get F-Droid, okay? This is the first thing we do. We've installed CyanogenMod. Now we've got our new version of the Play Store called F-Droid, which is all FOSS. It's all, open source stuff, okay? And F-Droid's great because F-Droid does everything, a lot of what the Play Store does, where it tells you when there's updates for software. It gives you multiple versions of software. I mean, it's a really, really well done store. I love it. And everything's free. There's nothing to purchase here. Okay. After you buy, again, this is all being done on the cheap. After you buy your inexpensive tablet, or if you want to buy an inexpensive tablet, okay. But if you buy your inexpensive tablet and here now all the software is free. Okay. So you have F-Droid, okay, and if you hadn't noticed, I'm on location, by the way. I'm on location all day long. And the first thing you might want to get set up is email, okay? You probably want to do email. And that's important because email is how you confirm a lot of things. It's one of your ways of getting access to whatever. Emails is the most basic, and at the same time, has the potential to be one of the most secure forms of communication that you can do digitally. Okay, so you want to do email. So what you're going to want to grab it's called K9. Okay, and that's K-9. And yes, it's in reference to, and the icon looks like the little robot droid from, the little robot from Doctor Who, the little dog robot. That's what I didn't mean to say droid. I meant to say dog. The little robot dog from Doctor Who way back when. And it's a really, really well done email program. I use it, even though my Android, my phone in any way isn't necessarily dark. It has the capability, but it's not necessarily dark. The K9 is just a great email suite. It's fantastic, and it's open source, and you can download that. Another nice thing that a lot of these open source software has that I like is they have the ability to change the theme of the software. So not only are your communications, kind of going through the dark web, but you can actually make all your apps, there's the theme light and dark, meaning where it'll have a white background or a black background. And so you can make most of these apps I'm going to tell you about will allow you to turn the background black. And that just makes everything feel far more hackerish, when it's a black screen. Anyway, it's just something I actually like. I think it's easier on the eyes. So I'm a fan of it. So you're going to grab K9 email. Okay. And then you can set that up. You can, set it up with your Gmail or GMX, or, I don't recommend using Gmail, but you can set up a GMX or your server or whatever, you take your pick, you can set it up with that. Okay. It's real simple. And the nice thing is that then again, this is all being done through F-Droid, through the F-Droid store. Okay. No Google Play here. Then you can download what's called APG. Okay. Which APG is like GPG or PGP, which APG will allow you to use GPG signatures on your tablet. Okay. So you can send secure GPG or PGP, whatever, however you want to use it, email through K9 by having APG installed on your tablet. Okay. How to do that, how to set that up, no podcast could explain all that to you right out of the gate. But essentially what you would have to do is that you'd have to set up GPG on your computer first and then copy the keys over onto your tablet. So just so you know, that's what's involved with that. But it is entirely possible. The number one, ability in encryption, which is using GPG keys for sending private emails, okay, can be done on the tablet. So there you go. You're secure right out of the gate with that, which is great. Okay, so you've got that. So we've done email. Okay, we've got our OS, we've got our Play Store, we've got email. All right, we're off to a great start. Now, how do we do all the other communication things? This is where things get really easy and exciting. Okay, what there is for Android, or in this case CyanogenMod, but we'll just keep calling it Android. You know what I'm talking about. There's this great, I mean, it's awesome. There's this group called the Guardian Project. Okay, and everything they do is all about securing apps on Android. Okay, and they offer a full suite of apps to do just insane things with. Okay, so you can go to guardianproject.info and you're going to get a look at all these, and you're just, you're going to have a cryptographic orgasm. Trust me. All right. The first thing we're going to want to put on is Orbot. Okay, and what Orbot does, now your phone's going to be rooted, or your tablet in this case is going to be rooted to put CyanogenMod on. Generally, you have to root it. Okay. And since it's rooted, you have full access to your computer. Now, I always recommend people root their stuff anyway, because especially with tablets, rooting tablets falls under funny copyright laws, and so technically it's illegal to do. So it's a good form of activism to root your devices because it is illegal to do. Anyway, so because of that, when you install Orbot onto your tablet, Tor will just take over all your communications from that point on, will work through Tor. Everything you do on the tablet will now work through Tor because your device is rooted, because you're okay. Now, if you just installed Tor or Orbot onto an unrooted device, only other Guardian Project software and apps would work through Tor. But in this case, since you're rooted, everything will work through it. Okay. So put Orbot on there, you turn it on, you go into the app and there's a big button and you press it and it'll let you know, and there's an indicator in the top left or, the screen on your tablet that'll say, that it's like a little picture of an onion, and that says that you're connected to Tor. So now everything's going through Tor and you're pretty well anonymized on that end. But let's talk about what else the Guardian Project offers. There's OrWeb, which is a web browser, okay, that you can use. Really basic web browser. If you're going to, like heavy JavaScript sites and all this stuff, it's not going to work that well. But again, we're talking about your device going dark. We're not talking about getting a whole like full normal use of your device, okay? This is about where you want your communications to be anonymized. All right. So OrWeb's a good way to do that. Now, you can also download from F-Droid. Okay. Remember, all this can be done through F-Droid. You can also download Firefox for Android. And that there is a plugin. It's not in active development anymore, but it still works. But you can also use Firefox to work through Orbot and to connect through Tor. So that's a handy thing to have, because then that is a full-featured browser that's open source. If you want to do, like really normal web browsing, like going on Amazon or whatever. And with Firefox, you can install Flash and you can install this, a lot of add-ons that will allow for some more anonymizing and phishing, anti-phishing stuff, all that good stuff. So that's an option too. But there is OrWeb, and you can grab Firefox if you want. Both of those work through Tor, can work through Tor natively anyway, but they're great to have as is. OrWeb you'll find is kind of weird because it won't save where you were last, like where Firefox or Chrome will, and also its address bar is really, really basic. So keep that in mind. It takes a little getting used to. The next thing you're going to want is Chat Secure, which is awesome. Chat Secure will allow you to access XMPP, a whole bunch of different protocols, Google Talk. So if you already have, say you had a Google Plus page, you could actually log into your Google Plus, your Hangout account, through Chat Secure, and Chat Secure will do what's called OTR, off the record messaging, and Chat Secure will encrypt everything you do through Google Talk, and it'll even work through Facebook Messenger, where everything will be encrypted, that you message over Facebook, not that you put into your news feed, but what you private message over Facebook. Okay. Now, of course, that's going to connect you, so you'd probably want to set up a bum Facebook account to be able to do that sort of thing. But the possibility exists to where you can connect with people through Facebook messaging through ChatSecure. Of course, also you could just use, straight up good old fashioned Jabber, and just talk to people through that means. Okay. So that's, that's an option as well. ChatSecure is really, really great for that. So even on the big networks that already exist out there, you can do encrypted chatting. And again, you're still dark. Okay. All totally free. The next thing. Okay. So we got a web browser. We can now we can instant message people. Okay. With ChatSecure, and where everything's being done through Tor. We've got our Play Store. We're doing great. Okay. The next piece of business is, what about a camera app? Because those cameras are, a pain in the ass. Okay. Now, CyanogenMod has its own camera app, but if you want to go to the next level, the Guardian Project offers ObscuraCam. Okay. And ObscuraCam will actually, it'll allow you to encrypt pictures. It lets you destroy, destroy the pixels. So like you can hide faces if, say, someone is like concerned about their privacy. It's a camera app with privacy in mind. It's really nice. It's pretty basic, but it's really, really nice to have. Again, all this available through the F-Droid store. Okay. So there you have a camera app now, that can handle things in a private way, that can encrypt pictures, all the rest of it. Now here's a fun app to do. Okay. And this is called PixelKnot. And what this does is that if you have if you want to send, consider this like an odd kind of encrypted Snapchat. Okay. If you have something you want to say, like a text message of some kind, you can actually, you have to use it to try it, but you can send a picture that has the message inside the picture, and you only know that it's there if the person's kind of like looking for it. It's really far out. You've got to see this. Anyway, PixelKnot's something to just have some fun with, but it's a nice way to do hidden messages and some degree of encryption. Okay, so now all this is fine and dandy. We've got a lot here. What if I wanted to do some kind of voice, talking to people with voice? I don't want to use Google Hangouts because I'm not putting the Play Store on here. I'm not putting any Google software onto my Android tablet, but I want to talk to people. I want to literally hear their voices, and I'm not going to put Skype on because it's Microsoft and that's 10 times worse. Okay, what do we do? Well, what there is, it's called Hostel, okay, that the Guardian Project has. And it's it's what they call like a soft IP, soft VoIP. It's VoIP. It's voice over IP essentially, and it's an encrypted. There's been other apps out there that could do this, but this is open source. And this is all stuff that you can get for free. Like I think Red Phone used to be able to do this, but it's voice over IP, voice over the internet. Okay. And you can call people, you can make your own phone numbers. It actually creates a dialer thing. You're not going to be calling, you can't call your place of work with this. Okay. But you could call someone else who's also on a dark device, or whoever has this Hostel set up. And I think the app is CSIP, but when you go to guardianproject.info, you can look at all that. So now you can actually, with your tablet, you can do voice communications. It's awesome. Very, very, very well done. And the app actually, a lot of this exists for things beyond Android / CyanogenMod, but it's there. So there you go. Yeah, I think it's CSIP Simple is the app that you use to access Hostel. Another thing you can do, all this the Guardian Project is recommending or providing. There's KeySync, which is an app that lets you, that this is something that you would put on your computer that allows you to sync your GPG keys with whatever's going on with your computer, with your tablet. Maybe that's of interest to you. You can use that too. If you are doing this on a phone, okay, if you were doing this on a phone, or somehow you rigged your tablet to work like a phone, which, some tablets have SIM card abilities. And so maybe you made that happen. Good for you. If you did happen to do that, or, if you were going to try this on a phone, there is the best app for encrypting text messages as an SMS. is Tech Secure. And I've also done that for Software of the Week on the show. I haven't met a whole lot of people that bother to even use it. That goes for almost all of this. I can't find anybody that'll use it. And that's part of the reason I'm doing the special. Is because I think it'd be cool if people did start using this stuff. If anything, even if it were, say, in the end it was fruitless because somehow or other, the FBI or the NSA is going to get your info anyway. At least this is giving them a really hard time. And admittedly, a lot of times the FBI and the NSA are pretty inept. Okay, so, you might be able to work things out through their stupidity. Not that I want to call them stupid, but anyway, so there's everything from the Guardian Project, but that covers a lot of ground. There's your web browsing, there's your instant messaging, your phone calls, essentially. We even talked a little bit about texting. And everything's being done through Tor. Your whole device is running through Tor, which anonymizes, where the stuff's coming from. And again, you're not using Tor over a 3G signal. You're using it over Wi-Fi, so you're good. And something else I want to talk about that if you want to go for that next level, that extra step, in anonymizing what you're doing, you could set up. There is an OpenVPN app that's in the F-Droid store, and you could essentially, you could use proxpn.com, use the code FTL20, and you could get the login credentials for that, or you could use RiseUp's VPN service, and you could use OpenVPN, which again is open source and very secure. Everybody and their mother recommends using OpenVPN for everything anyway. I even have it on my phone, not just on my Chromebook or whatever, or tablet. So use OpenVPN. You can get the app for that, and you can set all that up too. So you can be on Tor, and you can be using a VPN service, which is, you're doubled up, okay, which is great. So the next thing that a lot of people are probably wondering about is search. What do I do about search? Okay, because, Google is the king of search, and, I can't begin to tell you how often I use Google, and I'm not saying me, I'm saying this is the average person talking, how often I use Google to just find something out. Well, there is a great alternative out there, and it's DuckDuckGo, okay? And their app, it's available through F-Droid. DuckDuckGo's app is great because what it can do, it can put the search bar, it's sort of a fake because it's not the same search bar as the Google search bar. It just links you to it looks like a DuckDuckGo search bar, but all it does is it opens up the DuckDuckGo app. But anyway, it looks cool. I think it looks cool. I have it on my phone. And so you have the DuckDuckGo app, and with that, it actually opens up its own web browser, okay, which is totally anonymized. Now, if you don't know about DuckDuckGo doesn't keep any logs. It anonymizes everything you do. It is the direction that Google should be going in, but they're not. Because Google has, they want to collect all this information, not necessarily for the NSA, but, they want it for their own purposes, as to where DuckDuckGo does not want your information. They just want to be a great service out there for you. And it's like a 20-man company, I think, in Philly, so it's not a big company at all. So DuckDuckGo is a great option for that. DuckDuckGo also does, the DuckDuckGo app is cool because it actually brings up popular searches and news stories. Not that, again, it's not keeping searches. It's not keeping logs of who's doing the searches, but it is, showing what's kind of what's popular out there. And so that makes it nice. It almost works like a little news feed to some degree. But the nice thing too is that DuckDuckGo is able to search within Tor. So if you're looking for the hidden wiki or the new Silk Road or whatever, okay, you can actually, DuckDuckGo is capable of doing searches within Tor. And it'll work, obviously you have to have Orbot for that, but we have Orbot running, so we're fine. So DuckDuckGo is the search you'd want to be using anyway. Just because if you're wanting to use hidden services on Tor, it's the way to go. It's the way to find them. So DuckDuckGo is awesome. You use that. It actually it works like its own web browser. And there comes a point where what you search on, It'll ask you, do you want to open this in an external browser to get the full features? So it's a great little app. I recommend using it even if you're not going dark. I use it more than I use Google search anyway, and I'm still skeeved by Google now. So anyway, so there you go. So there's DuckDuckGo. We've handled search. What's the next big thing that Google offers? Maps, of course, maps. And Apple Maps is not an alternative. It sucks. Things there's other map options out there that they're still done by these companies, and they buy like satellite stuff from the NSA, blah blah blah. So maybe I don't want to use them. Again, I'm speaking from not necessarily for myself. I'm speaking from like kind of the aspect of say the paranoid. Okay. And that's okay. I'm not insulting anyone for being paranoid. I'm really not, because, quite frankly, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean people aren't coming after you. You know what I mean? Like people often just get written off for being paranoid. I'm not writing you off. I think there may be, I think all this stuff is really good to implement in one way or another, or in its entirety, to where you have a very, very secure and anonymous platform. Okay. So, for maps, what do? Well, we want to try and stay open source, right? Okay. So in the thought of staying open source, you have what's called Skobbler Maps. Okay. And Skobbler makes their stuff available on a few different platforms, but Skobbler Maps, the only thing is this is one you can't really get on F-Droid. Okay. You probably have to go hunt down the APK for this. This exists out there, and maybe you're okay with getting the Play Store, because then it opens up some other options. Okay. But Skobbler Maps is really the only, that's really the only open source map project software that I thought that really did, in some ways, even a better job than what Google offers, because Skobbler Maps works offline. And so for a tablet that wouldn't be always connected, you could get around the USA or whatever country you buy the maps for pretty well. Okay, but you're not going to necessarily find Skobbler through F-Droid. So keep that in mind. But Skobbler Maps is the way you want to go. It runs off of the open maps, the open source maps project, whatever. Really, and it works really well. I use it. I use it more than I use Google Maps. I love it. So we got that. We've got we've got. We've talked about pretty much everything that like the average person wants to do with their tablet, I think. We've allowed for instant messaging, web browsing, email, all of this being encrypted. Everything we're talking about being encrypted. Okay, now Skobbler Maps might not be so much encrypted, but I'd be remiss if I didn't put that out there, that exists and that's available for you to look into. So the next question becomes, what if, what if I want a little more of like an enhanced, what if like certain apps that I download, even though they're open source, still have like maybe they still kind of communicate, or they have like maybe some degree of, maybe not JavaScript, but something where they're just like they're being annoying. Like maybe they have like those little ads in the apps. Sometimes people do that. Generally, I don't think anything in the F-Droid store can have that, but say you did have that. You could download an APK, and actually I think it's available in the F-Droid store. You can download Adblock Plus. And Adblock Plus is probably one of the greatest damn things to ever, greatest pieces of software to ever be released. It does what it says, but it does a lot more, especially on like your desktop or laptop computer. Adblock Plus is amazing, but it blocks all these ads. It blocks all the annoying stuff in Facebook. It just blocks all this annoying stuff, and it actually secures your computer in a lot of ways too. It's a really, really handy thing to have, and it's open source, so you can grab Adblock Plus, and you'll have the little stop sign symbol in the top left of your tablet that'll say ABP, and that that's just another layer of security, to make sure that things are getting blocked, and that you have some degree of an anonymity, and that websites are being told to do not track. Adblock Plus does that. A lot of really cool things with Adblock Plus that can do. So, all right, so we've got that as well. Let's see, what else do we want? Maybe the next thing I'm going to recommend, I love, but I'll explain to you why I love it, but it's not something that you actually need. The keyboard that's built into CyanogenMod is perfectly fine, okay? It doesn't have a whole lot of advanced features, but it's perfectly fine. But the on-screen keyboard I think is kind of a big deal, and this is something I've been using for years, and it's called Hacker's Keyboard, okay? And it's available, again, in the F-Droid store. And why is it called Hacker's Keyboard? Was it just for hacking? Well, kinda, because the idea is like your normal on-screen keyboard doesn't have the control key or the alt key. There's certain keys that exist, on a normal QWERTY computer keyboard that don't exist on an Android keyboard or the CyanogenMod keyboard. Hacker's Keyboard puts all of that in. Hacker's Keyboard also has built-in dictionaries, so that can finish your words for you, all that good stuff. And it is open source. Again, it's available on the F-Droid store. And so if you were wanting to do some degree of hacking, you would need the control key. You would need a keyboard that could do this stuff. Or if you're trying to remote access something, not necessarily hacking, but if you're trying to remote access something, you would need the keys that only exist on the Hacker's Keyboard. They're not, on Swift keys. They're not on that. They're not on any of those other keyboards. They're only on the Hacker's Keyboard. So I recommend downloading that anyway. But if you don't consider it important, then you don't consider it important. But it's a nice keyboard. It has themes, so you can make the letters like bone colored or you can do the whole dark black thing. I like it, and it's free. Again, totally free. Nothing I've listed off so far except Skobbler Maps is the only oddball that costs $1. And you get one country map for free, and then the country maps cost more. But otherwise, everything I've told you about has been free, has been totally free. And if you know a map app that is open source, that uses the Open Streets project, or Open Source Streets project, whatever. If you know of another one that you can get through F-Droid or whatever, please don't hesitate to email me, sovereigntech@riseup.net. And if you want credit, I'll give you the credit for finding it. And I will mention it for Software of the Week in a future episode of Sovereign Tech. So if you do find one that you think works, let me know. I suppose, like Open Streets, there's web access to that. So, but that's the problem, is it's not offline like Skobbler is. So I suppose you could go online and use it. There's some open source map things that maybe wouldn't track you, that you could look into. So that's something to consider maybe. But anyway, but by and large, everything I told you so far is free. The next thing I want to mention is, again, we're doing all local storage. We're not really doing any cloud storage with any of this stuff. If you want to look into doing some degree of open source cloud storage, there are projects to look into, but that's not really, we're talking about a device where everything you want is with you, nothing's in the cloud, essentially. And not even your email, because actually you can set up K9 for like IMTP, right? Or is it SMTP? I think it's IMTP, where it actually downloads the email to your device. Okay. So nothing is being trusted to the cloud for long with the dark Android setup that we're talking about. There's actually, there's other things the Guardian Project does that I didn't mention. Like there's a notepad app, an encrypted notepad app, which that'll be in the show notes. And that will, then you have something that you could write with, essentially. And there's other, you can look through F-Droid and software to write on, like Office suites. You may want to, that's up to personal taste. You can look into those, if you want, on the F-Droid store. I recommend that. So I'm not going to recommend any of those because, that's, again, your writing software is up to personal taste. I like, personally, if you had a Play Store, I'd recommend like Kingsoft Office, or if you could maybe get the APK for Kingsoft Office. A lot of people don't trust it. It's totally free, but a lot of people apparently don't trust it because it's made by the Chinese, which I don't know why that means you can't trust it. But Kingsoft Office allows you to encrypt your, password protect and encrypt your documents on your tablet or on your phone. So I do like that, but again, that's something not available in F-Droid. let's see what else, what other wonderful things, viruses. I think if you're following this process, and again, you don't have the Play Store. If you're following this process, you're not going to really get viruses anyway, because your tablet is so locked down. I can't really see it happening, and I'm guessing you're the kind of person that's pretty careful with what they click on in their emails. So you're not going to get some kind of malware on there. One of the best, and it's open source, and I think you can get the APK for this. So even if it's not available in the F-Droid, you can go to their website and you can grab the APK. So I'll put it in the show notes anyway, but it's Sophos Security Suite, and it's really, really nice. It's a really, really nice suite, and it does a lot of things. It even, while it scans for malware and all that stuff, it makes sure that what the parts of your tablet that you want locked down are locked down. It reminds you to encrypt. This is nice. Android and CyanogenMod, of course, in a lot of ways are the same. They both allow for the ability to encrypt your entire phone or your entire tablet. It's in the settings, in the options, and you can say encrypt. And I definitely recommend doing that. It's a process that takes about an hour to do, but do it. And Sophos will say, hey, your device isn't encrypted. You might want to do that, and they can actually walk you through the process of doing that. So that's a really, really handy thing, to look into. Another, getting a little bit broader. We've pretty much discussed not the limits, but how far you can go, and we've even broken this a little bit, how far you can go with just open source, totally free, apps that you can use to where you don't have to install Google onto your device. Again, this is a totally, totally dark device. Okay. And you don't have to put CyanogenMod on. Android, you can do most of this with a rooted Android tablet as well. So if you don't want to go through the process of putting CyanogenMod on, all of this is just as easily done. But boy, if you can root your an Android device, you can install CyanogenMod. They're really, I think they're equally, as equally complex, if they're complex at all. So anyway, keep all that in mind, but there are a couple options you may want to go to if you're willing to allow for a little bit, like if you're allowing for the Play Store to somehow be put on. Okay, there are some expanded options that are out there, like the ability to talk on IRC that we mentioned. Now there's some open source apps being developed for that. You can look into those, but there's one called Android IRC. Now that costs, I think it's like $2.99 or $4.99 in the Play Store, and that is a really great IRC app. It works great on tablets, works great on phones too, but of course it doesn't work over 3G or 4G. It only works over Wi-Fi. But that's something to look into if you want to get into IRC. Also, if you're traveling abroad and you do have the Play Store, again, you can get, if you're looking to be able to translate things, but you don't want to download Google Translate or, or any of that kind of stuff. You want as little the amount of Google software as possible. There is what's called a word lens translation. And that allows for you to like take a picture of a sign. What does the sign say? This one of those metal signs that are, in the middle of the street or off to the side of the street. What does that say? And you could like click on it and then you could see it. And that doesn't work with Google. That works on its own. It's not open source. But if you're looking to, again, stay away as much as possible from like Google software, that's an alternative too. Again, all this is listed in the show notes. So yeah, this is really it. You do everything that I mentioned, and you're going to have a dark Android device, where you are pretty much anonymous, or, you especially if you don't go with like the Maps software, if you don't go with, if you don't go with like Kingsoft Office, or if you don't go with the word lens translator, and, if you don't go with any of that stuff that you can't get through F-Droid, yeah, you're anonymous, and, you're accessing the dark web, and you have total control of everything you're doing. You might feel that there are some limitations on web browsing in that case, but you are relatively anonymous. You could be someone totally different. Another thing real quick that I want to mention is that, of course, tablets are now known for having rear and forward facing cameras. The EFF offers a sticker. I mean, you could put masking tape over them too, but if you want something that looks nice and maybe makes a statement, the EFF offers stickers that are designed to be, removed and, put back on. It's special, sticky substance, not that kind of special sticky substance. And that will cover like the microphone and the camera. And they got one for the back and one for the front of a device. So, those are handy to have. That's something to consider as well. But anyway, and you can just look around the F-Droid store some more. Look around the F-Droid store and see what things are there. There's searches, and you can look into and see what you want to do with the device, and you can do it. Like there's an app on there that lets you see what all the sensors, because like smartphones and tablets today, they have so many sensors on them. It's crazy. An accelerometer, all these kinds of wild things, even things that detect magnetic fields. And you can actually, there's apps on there, and they'll drain your battery and the heartbeat, but there's apps on there that will show you everything, all the data that those sensors are collecting on your device. And that's pretty empowering to know. I mean, you have to know what all the symbols mean and everything and what all the numbers mean, but you can find out, like you could find out, what kind of a magnetic field you're sitting in. It's pretty incredible. So all this stuff is available. It is possible. Again, it's not just for the paranoid. I mean, this is something I consider this activism that you can do to just, give the governments of the world and the corporations of the world a hard time. And I don't want this to all sound so anti-Google, because Google's making it possible. They're one of the only companies making it possible to even allow you, to take control of your device and do half of this stuff and to keep everything open, because they could close down. Now, admittedly, they are starting to. They could close down on Android and then a whole shit ton of this wouldn't be possible. Okay, but they're not. Again, with KitKat, with Android 4.4, they are starting to close in a little bit. But that's why we use CyanogenMod to open it all back up. Okay? So I'm not being anti-Google here, okay? But, I'm definitely being anti-NSA, anti-FBI, anti-government. I'm an anarchist. What do you want? So I thought it would be a fun special to do and get people thinking and letting them know that, yes, it is possible to do a lot of the things that you like to do without using Google services, especially if you don't mind having the Google Play Store on your device. Or you can still do most of it while never having a Google service on your Android device, or in this case, CyanogenMod, on your tablet or phone, whatever. So it's something to consider. Also, a lot of these Nexus devices now, Ubuntu can be installed on them. And so that's something to think about. That's not a large ecosystem right now, and you're not going to put F-Droid on that, but it's a possibility. A lot of the software also, full disclosure, a lot of stuff from the Guardian Project is also available in the Amazon App Store. So if you have a Kindle Fire and you're looking to kind of do this sort of stuff, feel free, to start using it, because it's there and it's available. So, how far you want to go with this is totally up to you. But I recommend, Darren Kitchen said it, I'll say it too. Encrypt all the things, because it's not hard anymore. And that's why I was excited to do the special. Before you'd have hackers telling you stuff and like it sounded like you were listening to a technical manual. It's not a technical manual anymore. People have made it easy. Okay. And a lot of times you're saying, well, what's their motives for doing this sort of thing? Their motives are because in other parts of the world, people are dying because of non-encrypted communications. It's not happening in America right now, okay? But people are dying because they don't have access to information, or they can't communicate privately. And so these companies are doing it for their sake. But you get to be ahead of the curve. You get to take advantage of that and use this, say before, who knows what happens. Or if you're going to another country, you already have it set up if you're going to go work with other activists in other countries. Okay? And that's another nice thing too about like not relying on cell signal, not relying on 3G or 4G, or LTE, because Wi-Fi is an open standard pretty much. Like wireless G is pretty much everywhere. Okay, even in the most far-flung of countries, somewhere you're going to get wireless G. And if anything, at least wireless A, and you can connect with that, or wireless B, I should say, not necessarily A, and you can connect with that with your Android device. Some Android devices even have wireless AC, which hasn't taken off quite yet, but it took N forever to get instantly put into to every device on the planet. So it'll take AC a while too. AC, not alternate current. AC is a communication protocol. So anyway, I recommend trying this stuff out, see how you like it. And then if you really want to go dark, you really want to go anonymous, this is the path. This is how you can do it. All with a cheap, with a $200 sub $300 device. You can live a pretty anonymous life. And before someone asks, here's the last bit. I hope you kept listening, because here's the last bit. How can I buy things though? Haha. Coinbase, you can use Bitcoin. Okay. We talk about this on Free Talk Live and on Sovereign Tech, that people need to get into the habit of spending Bitcoins and using them as money so that they get even more mainstream adoption. Coinbase is open source, and Coinbase is in the F-Droid store. So you could use your Coinbase client, which, and then if you access Coinbase on the internet, you could actually do some purchasing of Bitcoin. You could buy some Bitcoins, but in that case, you got to link it like to a bank account and blah, 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 and your anonymity goes out the door. So Coinbase is available, but I think you're going to have anonymity problems if you use Coinbase. But Mycelium, great Bitcoin dev team. Mycelium has the Mycelium wallet, which will, again, because if you use Coinbase, it's all going to be stored at Coinbase. Okay. So I don't recommend Coinbase, even though that's available to you open source and in the F-Droid store. Mycelium, everything gets put on to the Android device. Everything gets put onto the tablet. It's a full-featured, constantly updated, Bitcoin wallet. It's great. It is solid software. I think, my opinion, Brian Sovryn, Golden Stallion's opinion, is that as far as hardware wallets, not online wallets like blockchain.info, okay, Mycelium is the best on-device wallet you can get, hands down. Doesn't matter if it's on a Windows machine. And you can't even really get them on those. Okay. This is designed for Android. It's constantly updated. There was that Bitcoin scare that people lost, because they were on Android devices before. Mycelium was on the ball with that, letting people know what's going on. It's a great dev team. So grab the Mycelium wallet. Okay. And one last thing. If you want to listen to music, I want to put this in too. Say you have this great MP3 collection or whatever, OGG, whatever, file format your music's in, or you have like podcasts or whatever stuff you want to listen to. CyanogenMod has its own built-in music software called Apollo, which does a really, really good job. In fact, CyanogenMod, one of the nicer things about it is it has what's called DSP control, which means that you can actually change the equalizer to affect every single thing, every single app on your phone. So, it's not just like you have to change the equalizer settings in every app. It works phone wide, and it does a great job. And it also, it allows you to like change the settings for, if you have headphones on, it'll automatically switch to headphone DSP settings. If you have a speaker and you play it through speaker, it has speaker presets that you can choose that'll automatically operate when you go for the speaker or via Bluetooth, whatever. The music that's if you want that, Apollo's there. If you're still using Android, you're not using CyanogenMod, I think you can download Apollo through F-Droid anyway, because it is open source. So, keep all that in mind. And, and one more thing I just want to touch on before I finish up. You can grab, there's lots of great because say you want your tablet to be your main machine from now on, because you don't trust laptops or you don't trust, whatever. Yeah, I mean, hey, if you don't trust a Chromebook, if you don't trust Google, then obviously you wouldn't want a Chromebook. Even though in my opinion, Chromebooks are the most secure platform out there. It's not secure from Google, of course, but I think it's secure from everybody else. That's why I like Chromebooks. But so say you want this tablet to be your main machine. Well, you can go out, you can get, a Bluetooth keyboard and a Bluetooth mouse. And then, you could use it just like a desktop or a laptop. I do that. I have a Perix keyboard that I love, that, the battery in it, it charges via USB, same kind of, same mini USB that my phone charges by. And the battery in that lasts months. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's just this little keyboard. It's full size, but it's little, and it's flat and it slides into a bag and you're good. And I have a nice Bluetooth touch mouse thing that's really nice. That works as well. But that's out of print. It's the Mad Catz Eclipse Touch mouse, or not out of print, but it's out of production. So anyway, there's so much you can do, and we really, I think we can achieve an incredible level of anonymity if we want to, and it doesn't take a lot of work. If it took a lot of work, like microwaving your T-shirts, I wouldn't be going there. Okay. But it doesn't take a lot of work. So these are a lot of ways where, and you can pick and choose which parts of this you want to work with, to work with what, to work with your platform, to work with, say, on your phone, if you want to just secure your phone some more, whatever. Use what you want. And if you don't like it, don't use it. So I did say earlier in the show, I think, that I was going to put the links in the show notes. I'm just going to put the names for the software, because to link to them, because you can't link to them in the F-Droid store like you can with the Play Store. So you'll have to just search for them. So I'll just make sure the names for all these things that I talked about are in the show notes, and then you can just search for them. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to donate to the show, again, it's always appreciated. It really is. You can donate Bitcoin, Litecoin, or ProtoShares. The physical addresses for each of those are in the show notes, okay? Or for Bitcoin and Litecoin, the QR codes are in the top left of the screen on sovryntech.com. You can click on the picture up there and it'll make a bigger picture of it, and then you can look at the QR codes. And the physical addresses are there. So everything's in the show notes, though, if you need it, okay? Show notes are all inclusive. Don't forget, we are on IRC. I am on IRC now. And you can go to Freenode on IRC, and it's the hashtag Sovryn Belnea. That's the name of the channel, Sovryn Belnea. And so that's in the show notes as well. Okay, so if you want to come there and chat, please do. Love it. Anyway, Carpe Lucem. This is part one of the triple load for the beginning of December 2013, because I'm going to Inside Bitcoin. Also I will be real quick. I will be going to, you'll hear about this in the other podcasts too, but I think I am, it's 99% sure that I'm going to be going to Las Vegas for Passport to Freedom, January 23rd to the 26th in Las Vegas. There's a link at sovryntech.com. If you want to look into that, it's the bottom left. It says go to Passport to Freedom, and it'll take you to the web page to find out about that. So you can check into that if you want to see me there, but I will be in Las Vegas twice in 2 months. So you're going to be getting a lot of Sovryn Tech over for a while here. And also it was confirmed that I think on December 15th, I will be live on Puke and the Gang. I can't wait for that. That's going to be a great time. So a lot of stuff coming up. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the Dark Android special. And again, if you have any thoughts or any questions, sovryntech@riseup.net, send me an email, let me know. And we can work it out. So thank you so much again for listening. Carpe Lucem. I'll see you in the next episode.
This has been Sovryn Tech. Visit us at sovryntech.com. That's SOVRYN tech.com. There you can connect with us, see more of what you've heard on today's show, and catch our podcast feed. Sovryn Tech is open source. We encourage you to share. Later, nerds.